Hello everybody and welcome. This is Husky10. I'm currently on a little vacation. I am on a business trip for my job. I am working out at a plant in Wisconsin. I'm in Eau Claire, but I'm gonna try to be doing YouTube videos. So I'm gonna try to keep you doing YouTube videos for you guys. Today we are going to be doing something different. We are going to be creating a platformer game. This will be our first in a series. So please bear with me because I will be learning some stuff as we go along. Like animations, I'm not entirely sure how animations work. I don't typically use them because in my game detour, if I can bring it up, if you haven't gotten this game, you can get it on my itch.io or my Husky10 website. This is a game I made. It's a platformer. This was a very early platformer. As you can tell though, there aren't much animations in this game. I'm kind of proud of the music, but anyway, there's not much animation in this game that I can talk about. All I did was flip the character, flip the characters, I didn't animate much, but the platformer we're going to have is going to have animations and all that. Hang on, let me... Sorry, I have this habit. But anyway, we're going to be using an asset someone else made. You can make your own. My permanent editor is PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint for everything, but you don't have to use it. You can use whatever you like. I got GIMP and Blender, but you can't use 3D in Gdevelop. So we're going to have to make do. I'm gonna use stuff other people made. So let's see what they got here. They got a holiday pack, as far as I know, but it doesn't have a character. This isn't what I'm looking for. We're looking for a platformer thing. Here's a platformer character, but the problem with this is everybody uses this guy. We want this to be set apart, so I'm gonna download a foliage pack. I'm gonna see what else they got. A platformer pack. They got a medieval platformer pack. But the problem with this one is I don't see any characters. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna download this guy. I know I said I don't want to use it, but we're using it. We could also be using the abstract platformer, but I don't want to. There's one more pack I want to download. It was a here it is, the medieval platformer pack. I will leave a link to this site in the description. They got loads of assets, they got sound effects, they got top down. I'm gonna download this one because I'll use this for a later tutorial. But anyway, they got loads and loads of sprites for you. I'm gonna use this one later when we will build when we build a top down shooter. That will be for another date. But anyway, this is part 1 in a series of making a platformer. So let's open up Gdevelop, create a new project, an empty project. I'm going to save as and save it to another file. You don't have to do this. Hang on, I'm still. What's this one? But I'll explore this later. I'm gonna call this a platformer. I'm gonna call this the dot platformer. I don't know, that's the first thing that came up to my mind. So I'm gonna save it, and we have our scene. I'm gonna color it. I'm gonna go to scene properties and add a color. I'm gonna color it blue for the sky. Now let's import our platform because we need something for our player to stand on. So tile sprite, we're gonna create instead of import our images. This is because we want a prototype. I'm gonna color the platform, I'll color it purple. Save. Go to behaviors, add a behavior to the object, and select platformer. And yes, we want ledges to be grabbed. Hit apply, and there you have it. You have a ledge. And we have, now we're gonna rename it ground for the sake of prototyping. So I'm gonna add a sprite, color this one black. For this, again, for the sake of saving it, I'm gonna call it player. Hit apply. You're also gonna want to add a behavior. Add the platformer character behavior. Hit and check mark and grab platform ledge. So hit apply and drag it out. This is our little, what we're doing now is making a little play area. We're just playing around. We're playing with what we can do. This little play area isn't much to look at, but it's a prototype. Now I'm going to create a new sprite. I'm not going to add a condition. I'm just going to hit plus animation and hit apply. You don't have to add anything. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to rename it start. The reason I say this is we're going to do a little bit of events where if your player jumps off and falls for a certain amount of space down on the Y position, okay? The up and down is Y, left and right is X axis. So when it falls, we will say we want to get to like 1,000 of the y-axis and then come back to the start. So we're going to go to new scene event, add a new event, add a condition, select player, and we're going to click on Y position, center on the Y position, hit equals, no wait, hit greater than, and type in 1000, and then hit OK. You can play around with this, like I can set it to 99, just don't set it to 100 or you will break your game. Okay, now hit add action, and then we want to center the position again, and this time hit equals, and in the X position you're going to type in start dot X. Make sure your X is capitalized and there are 2 parentheses at the end. We're going to do the same thing for the Y position. We're going to hit and equals and hit start dot Y. Again, make sure it's the Y is capitalized and there are 2 parentheses at the end, and hit OK. So if our player falls off, he will fall and then come back to the starting position. Now let's do a little more. We have a problem. The camera is off. It's not following the player. So, but before I do that, I'm going to go into the scene properties, go into game settings, properties, and I'm going to uncheck this resolution during the game to update the resolution, and then hit apply. And there you go. Now, yes, you're going to get these ugly bars, but that can be fixed by going back to properties and changing the resolutions. I'm not going to for the sake of this tutorial, but I'm just going to leave it. So we have our player, he falls and all that. He can play around, for instance. I'm gonna add this, make the terrain a little interesting for him. So we want the camera to follow the player, because as you can see, it doesn't follow the player whatsoever. So one thing I'm gonna do beforehand, I'm gonna hit Control S, and that's going to save it. I'm gonna go into the project settings, and I'm gonna rename the scene to level 1. And then I'm gonna hit OK and get back into the scene. Now go into level 1 events, start a new group, and call it camera. Now there are many ways you can do the camera. You can play around with this. You do not need a condition, but you do need an action. I'm not entirely sure why you don't need a condition. I've never tried it where if you add a condition and all that, but you don't need one if you're messing around with camera. For instance, we can add an action, type in camera, and center the camera on the X position. Set it to equals and type in lerp parentheses caps lock camera X, caps lock X. Comma. Okay, something's wrong. Hang on, let me. parentheses, you want to open close parentheses, comma, player dot x. You want it to be a capital X. Comma, and then you want to put down any number as long as it's a decimal, I believe. As default, I put down 0.5, 0.05 or 0.06, and then you want to close it off with a parentheses, and there you go. You now have, it will follow the X position of your player. You can do this again, you can play around with this. I'm gonna add the Y position. So camera, type in camera, set camera center, Y position, set it to equals, type in lerp, type in camera with a capital C, and camera Y, open and close parentheses, comma, player, the dot Y, capital Y, parentheses, comma, 0.06 or 5 or whatever, and then close it with a comma, and then hit OK. Now let's press play. You now have a smooth, it now follows the player smoothly. Now there are some things you can do. For instance, you don't have to do the X and Y position. But the way we did it was how to get a smooth camera. You can type in camera again and center the camera on an object and choose player. But we're not gonna do that. At least I don't want to do it because it won't be as smooth. See, it's not as smooth as the other way of doing it, so I'm gonna get rid of it. And we have a smooth camera. I'm gonna change it to 0.5. No, let's see what happens when we type in 0.7. You wanna, like I said, you're prototyping, you wanna play around. You're playing around at this point. As you can see, the camera is smoothly following them. Now, I'm gonna change it to 5 though, for sake of this tutorial, and hit play. Now you have a really smooth camera. Now we can extend the scene, we can do whatever we wish. I am going to make the terrain a little interesting. You want to constantly keep testing your game and keep improving it. But this is just a prototype. It doesn't have to be entirely perfect. You're going to be cleaning it up later. So let's add our character and stuff. So all I'm going to do, for the sake of this tutorial, this is part 1, I'm going to be adding character animation. So go to your file that you downloaded. Where is it? Platformer characters. I'm gonna extract. You don't have to use these, you can use whatever you like. Another thing that I kind of like about this is about downloading from the site is they offer PNG characters, images, so you don't have to do the whole spreadsheet thing. This Gdevelop does have an option for spreadsheets, but I haven't been able to figure it out yet. So, for instance, you have your platformer character. You have all these characters. You can make a zombie. You can have a zombie. The pack I did was, it has a zombie, it has an adventurer. But we're more interested in importing the walking animations. So I'm gonna go to our player, hit rename the animation to walking. I'm gonna add an animation. I'm gonna find our file. If I can find it. I'm gonna import our main player, so poses. Let me see if I can find the one for walk. So it offers 2 walking animations. Hit apply. You could cheat and hit loop, hit apply. But I want to change some stuff about it. So this is where I am going to play around. You don't have to follow this exactly, but so you first off uncheck loop. We don't want that. Second, add a new event. Now when key press, so we're going to say right. We're going to say play animation. Change the animation equals to 0. With computers, what did I do? With computers, numbers don't go from 1 to 0, 1 to 2 to 3. You always start at 0. Always. Just keep that in mind. So, for some reason it's not playing. Let's see what happens. Okay, for some reason it's not playing. So we're gonna play animation. Okay, like I said, I'm playing around. We also, so I'm gonna delete these because I forgot one thing. Everything's kind of got to be in order. So I'm gonna see if there's an idle animation. and I don't see an idle anim. Oh, there it is. You're gonna hit idle, and then you're going to add a new animation and find walking, and add those. Hit open. Hit OK. Now we're going to set the animation to 1. And copy it, go to add new event, paste, left. When left key is pressed, we're going to copy and paste change animation, and we're also going to say flip horizontally player, yes. So there's some things we want to change about this. For instance, I'm going to copy and paste, right key pressed, invert it. I'm going to change the animation to 0. I'm going to see. Now there's one thing I want to double check. Okay, double click your player, go to your walking animation, and hit loop. Now I'm gonna copy and paste it again. I'm gonna add new event, paste left, type in left. When left key is not pressed, we want it to set the number to 0. But we notice it's not playing. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to open up a new Gdevelop and look at another file. I had this working in another file. I'm going to admit I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect game developer. I only figured out how to do this a while ago. I didn't use any tutorials. Alright, animation. Oh, so instead of left key pressed, we're going to say key released. So type in key released. And type in, let's say, left. And we're going to do the same thing for the right one. So, key released. You don't want any key released. You want, the one down here that says key released, you want to type in right. Hit OK. I'm going to copy and paste flip horizontally to the right, to when right key is pressed. we're gonna say we're no to flipping though. So let's test this. Okay. Okay. Make sure everything is spelled right. And there we go. We have an animated character. He is playing, he is walking around, and all that. So let's change some more stuff. I'm gonna also add jumping, a jumping animation. So add an animation, add frame, and I'm gonna look for jumping. For jump. So there it is. Hit open, hit OK, and we have a jumping animation imported. So it's gonna be similar to what we did up here. So when key pressed, add a new event, add a condition. When key pressed, so the default one is for jumping is space, so we're gonna change the animation to animation 2. Okay, so play, and then we are also going to say to add another event. When the space key is released, we are going to change it back to 0. And we have a character that's fully animated. It jumps, it walks, it goes into idle, and we have all that stuff, all that good stuff. So we are almost done with this. So let's run down what all we covered. We made a small checkpoint, which is a blank sprite, which we called start. And we said if the X position, if the Y position is greater than 1,000 while he's falling, we want him to go back to the start position. So we set it to start.x and start.y. Now the camera, we typed in camera, and we're changing the position of the camera to lerp camera x parentheses comma player.x comma parentheses comma 0.05. This is the speed, the 0.05, that's how fast your camera is, and then parentheses. We did the same thing with the Y, we just changed all the X's with Y's. Now the player walking animation, when right key is pressed, we want to change the animation to 1. You can also change the names of your animation like I did and do it by name, but we're doing it by number. So when right key is pressed, we asked it to change the number of animation of players set to 1, flip it, no, and we did the same thing with the left, but when we said flip, we said yes. But when right key is released, it goes back to the idle animation. When the left key is released, it goes to the idle animation. When space is pressed, we changed the animation to the jumping animation, which is animation 2. When the space key is released, we asked it to change to 0. And we now have a tiny game. I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. I honestly think people walk slower. So I'm gonna change it to 0.10. Let's see how that looks. And that looks a little better. So we now have a play area for our character. We now have an animated character and all that good stuff. I will see you again in the next video. In the next video, I hope to cover coins and score. So stay tuned for the next episode. This is Husky10. Thank you for watching.